Hello fellow enthusiasts, Pokecord enthusiast here, and today we are going to be looking at the starters from the 4th generation of Pokemon. Now this is one of the better generations, I would say, maybe top 4 for Pokecord. So first off is Turtwig, which turns out in the end to be Torterra. It's a very attack and defense heavy starter Pokemon, really low amount of speed. It's got some good coverage with Crunch, Wood Hammer, and Earthquake. Obviously Wood Hammer being your main move, Earthquake being your secondary move, and then Crunch just for that small times when you do need that dark type coverage. Overall, you're going to be using Adamant with Torterra. It's a pretty good Pokemon. Out of Gen 4, I would rate it as the middle of the two other Pokemon from its generation, with Empoleon being the worst of its generation for Pokecord, and for Infernape being the best of its generation for Pokecord. It's just overall a pretty good Pokemon. You do have to be careful of the fact that you will be hitting, like if you ever hit an ice type, you are quad weak to it. Obviously, like, you do gain weaknesses, and there are a lot of weaknesses that Torterra has with its typing, but overall it's a decent starter Pokemon. Then next one we're going to talk about is Piplup, which is final evolution is Empoleon. So Empoleon is a water steel type, which I also really like, and if it had a better moveset, I would love Empoleon. Like, that's one of the big things about Empoleon. If, like, let's say that they gave it Flash Cannon over Metal Claw, Empoleon would be great. But as you can see, it's very clearly a special attacker, and its best steel attack is still just Metal Claw, not very good for it. And that one specifically is fairly sad. It also has Drill Peck that it can't really use for similar purposes. Like, its attack just isn't good enough to be using them. If it had, like, Air Slash and Flash Cannon instead, this would be an amazing starter Pokemon, but as is, it's just decent because it actually does fairly well in the category of being a super effect, like having good coverage and not being weak to a ton of things. But it is still the worst of the 4th generation starter Pokemon. Then finally, we have Infernape. Now Infernape is Chimchar eventually turning into Infernape. Infernape, I would say, is the best of the generation 4 Pokemon. I'd also make an argument for it being one of the top 8 or so starter Pokemon for Pokecord. It's really fast. I don't like the fact that there's this huge thing in special attack when none of its moves, at least not the actual good moves for Pokecord, are special attack. That's annoying. It would have been a lot better spent having a higher attack or having a higher speed, but still, it's a really good Pokemon you're going to want to be. So this one, most of the time you will be using Adamant, but if you really need that speed, obviously just go Jolly because you're a physical attacker. If we look at the moves of Infernape, they're once again pretty good. I mean, it only really has 2 moves, being Flare Blitz and Close Combat. Like, Mach Punch and stuff can be put on it, obviously, but Mach Punch is fighting. I think those are going to be the only 2. You need your Close Combat and Flare Blitz for Infernape, and he's just really good firefighting type. It's another in that firefighting segment that they did for a while, and I get it. Firefighting isn't the best combination, but Infernape is really good because he can outspeed a lot of Pokemon, which gives him a huge advantage over a lot of different types of Pokemon. So just to review real fast, for Generation 4, the worst of the bunch is Empoleon, which if you were going to use Empoleon, you would use a Hydro Pump, Metal Claw, Drill Peck moveset. You would probably, I guess, you would want to, you can also throw in Aqua Jet, just so you have a 4th move that's more reliable, fourth more reliable water move than Hydro Pump, your chances are you are still going to want to do a special attack boosting move, whether that be Modest, or you could go with a nature that's going to give you speed and subtract from its, give you special attack and subtract from its speed, so Quiet. So that's what I would suggest using from Polion if you really want to use it. Hydro Pump, Drill Peck, Aqua Jet, Metal Claw with Quiet as your nature. The middle one for this generation is going to be Torterra. Torterra is a great Pokemon. You're mainly going to be using the Adamant nature with the moveset of Crunch, Hammer, Wood Hammer, and Earthquake. And then I would say is arguably who I would say is arguably the best for this generation, coming in at Infernape, who you're just using Adamant on, with Close Combat and Flare Blitz, obviously with both Infernape and Torterra. With Torterra, if you really need that extra defense, obviously go a defensive nature that takes away from your special attack. And for Infernape, if you really need that extra speed, use a speed nature that takes away from your special attack stat. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys are enjoying the series, make sure to let me know in the comments down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.